Gon' kick it off then. Whoa. Gon' kick it off then. It ain't a game, kick it off then. Whoa. So gon' kick it off then. Huh? What we talking about, it goes deep.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching SheSP the Network, another episode of WTF Too, Women Talk Football Too. I'm Latasha Miles, aka Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, and I am accompanied by my wonderful, dope, beautiful, and spectacular co-host. Let the good people know who you are.
What's up, good people? It is the touchdown time, boy. Y'all see I'm repping today. You see? I pulled that thing out today.
No doubt, indeed. Good look there. And our Black Monday came through, and it hit hard. J.J. Watt designated to return from IR, while his little brother, T.J. Watt, tied Michael Strahan's sack record with 22 and a half sacks. Juju Smith-Schuster returned to practice this week and after being placed on IR on October the 16th, and the Steelers have 21 days to decide whether they'll be reactivating him, if they'll still be around for 21 days with the playoffs being this weekend. And also the playoffs. You kidding me? Jim Moore, senior voice, and Mike Tomlin, now the lone African-American head coach after the terminations of Brian Flores, which we'll talk about later, and also David Culley. Both of them were relieved of their duties. So let's kick it off with the first quarter. We just mentioned the playoffs, and here's the lineup. The eligible teams for the Super Bowl are the Packers and the Titans, the number one seeds in each respective conference. The Cowboys, the Bucks, the Rams, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Raiders, and the Bengals. So what dark horses do you see from each conference? Touchdown Tomboy.
So first off, okay, so from the AFC, my dark horse has to be the Raiders. I mean, here's the thing. I love Pitt. I do. I love Pittsburgh, and I love the storybook ending of all that they got going on with Big Ben and they're riding off into the sunset, and you can never doubt Mike Tomlin. However, when I look at all of the craziness that the Raiders have endured this season, I feel like it's almost willing them to be the dark horse by default, because
Right.
You've gone from the whole Henry Ruggs thing to the John Gruden to the Arnett, then to the Hobbs, and it's like been issue after issue after issue after issue with the Raiders, and they still made the freaking playoffs.
Right.
Like, and not only did they make the freaking playoffs, they won their last 4 games. So
Right.
They're honed in, and they're like, yo, we still can be that team. And I'm thinking, if you can focus and win 4 straight games with all this drama going on, you have no choice but to be a dark horse.
Right.
A dark horse. So, I'm looking at it I'm liking, what their interim head coach is doing. I actually kind of like his style, his philosophy. And then I saw the way Max Crosby and them boys got after the Chargers last week. Like, they were giving them everything they had. And it was like that will to win. And I'm looking at how well the defense played last week. And then they got Darren Waller back, And if they can figure out just how to piece Darren Waller with Hunter Renfrow and Deshaun Jackson, that might be a team that I'm not willing to see, simply because they can put up the numbers just like the Kansas City Chiefs can put up the numbers, and they can do it, and they can do it fast. And if that defense is continuing to run the pace that they're running at, I wouldn't want to see them in this playoffs. And so I'm saying to the Bengals, y'all better be ready, because the Raiders gonna give you everything they got. Okay. Now, when we go over to the NFC, it's hard to bet against the 49ers, yo. It is so hard. Yo, listen, I'm thinking about, first of all, the 49ers are the healthiest that they've been all season.
Right.
So they got Brandon Ayuk back. You know what I'm saying? They got George Kittle is healthy. Even though Jimmy G and his little finger, he was out there playing last week, it didn't look like it was all that bad. They beat the Rams up, So I'm looking at this team. They got a strong offensive line, and Brandon Ayuk out of the backfield. You got George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell. I ain't trying to see that running game You know, they can control the time of possession with this clock. Cal Shanahan, I love him because he's an offensive mastermind. That's not a team I'm trying to see, because then you got a crazy pass rush with Bosa and them boys up front. That's not a team I'm trying to see in the playoffs. So good luck, Cowboys. I'm got y'all being one and done this week because I don't see y'all getting past the 49ers. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but that's where I'm at. So I don't want to see the Niners and I don't want to see the Raiders. That's where I'm at.
That's funny. I picked those two teams as well. The other thing about the 49ers is, Jimmy G, he came out earlier this week and said that the uncertainty of where he's going to be with this team next year has been looming over him. And he thinks that that was one of the things that's kind of caused him his demise, in addition to his injuries. Just psychologically, that's been an issue for him. But I think that going to the playoffs, getting that big win against your division rival in overtime, I think that was a confidence builder for him. And, the fact that they played in the NFC West, unlike the Cowboys who played in the NFC East, the Cowboys swept their division. Nobody else in the division is above 500. So the Cowboys really did not have a lot of tests for at least 6 of those games. Plus, the Cowboys have lost a lot of games at home. The San Francisco 49ers, of course, they play in the NFC West, which has sent 3 teams to the playoffs. So they've had a little bit more tests there. I think that's helped them build a little bit more endurance, a little bit more confidence going against six of those games, as opposed to 6 weaker games for the Cowboys. And the thing is with Jimmy G, I think we have not seen a breakout Jimmy G game at all this season. And I think that this might very well be the one. Also because of the fact of, like you mentioned, Mike Shanahan and his offensive genius mastermind, he's gone against Dan Quinn because they have ties together with the Atlanta Falcons. So I really feel like that, Shanahan might use that to, now don't get me wrong, because Quinn could take the same approach. But when I'm looking at these two in a chess match, I do give an advantage more to Shanahan's offense than I do Quinn going against his defense, going against Mike Shanahan's offense. So I definitely agree with you with the 49ers. It's a dangerous time to play them right now, especially also with them coming with their health, as you alluded to. The other thing about the Raiders, when I was picking them, I picked them for a lot of the exact same reasons that you did. Also, doing this 4-game winning streak, this was also around the time that John Madden died. So that might have given them a little bit more of a boost, a little bit more inspiration. Maybe they want to play for their former coach as well. And I mean, it's just really hard to root against Derek Carr. This guy, the way his display of leadership, I mean, even with the rug situation, when everybody was so critical, myself included, on this guy killing someone and her dog, Derek Carr was like, look, he needs compassion. He needs somebody to take their arms and wrap around him. And if I'm the only one that has to do it, then it's going to be me. He's such a, he embodies all of this Christ-like, his mantra, his demeanor. I mean, even the other night they picked up some sound bites on him and he was saying, oh, freaking yeah. He wasn't even dropping F-bombs. And this is just a dynamic leader that we're speaking of here. In addition to just the Raiders have been tested with so much of the off-field stuff. They also have Carl Nesbitt, I think is his name, the first openly gay player on their team, and just all the media that came with that, which, I mean, I don't care that he's gay, but I'm just saying, all the media and pressure that came with that for the Raiders too, and they handled that beautifully as well. They didn't judge him. They didn't take away any snaps from him just because he was gay, and just everything that the media threw at them, they handled it with such class and such grace. So the Raiders are definitely battle tested as well. I even looked at the Eagles, and the reason being not so much of the Eagles as a whole, but definitely for this game against the Bucs, because they're playing a wounded Bucs team that did not have the same arsenal this year that they had last year. No Godwin, no Antonio Brown, no Fournette. So they're catching the Bucs at a very vulnerable moment. Plus, because now this is the type of stuff that I always look at. Gronk and Brady were in a Super Bowl against the Eagles a few years ago. That Eagles team that's playing them on on this weekend still has Barrett, still has Fletcher Cox, and they also still, not Barrett, Derek Barnett. They still have Fletcher Cox. They still have Rodney McLeod. All of these guys already know how to beat Gronk and Brady in a postseason game. They're like internal scouts. So maybe they could reach out, give the younger guys some some tout because they're experienced, they know what to do. So I like them more so in this matchup. They're catching the Bucks at a very vulnerable time. I like them. And I'm still gonna pick my Steelers only because like the Steelers in postseason, they have a very good history of beating Kansas City in the postseason, even some of the home games. But also, like, the Steelers are playing with house money. They have nothing to lose here. And also, every time the Steelers have the 2 past Super Bowls that they won, they were a 6 seed. They had to win all 3 games on the road. They were flying under the radar. Nobody gave them a chance. And this is very reminiscent to that. When they've been the higher seeds or when they had to play at home, i.e. last year, Cleveland beat them in in Pittsburgh in the playoffs. It's a lot of they just don't do as well. So I like just the history aspect of it, not necessarily the talent, but I do like the history of it as well. To benefit the Steelers a little bit on this one. So those are my dark horses for those reasons. All right, moving along to the second quarter. There was some controversy in Sunday night's game regarding the last 2 spots in the postseason. Now, the Chargers did a lot of things well, moving the ball down the field, staying on the field on 3rd down, staying on the field on 4th down, even making those conversions, keeping the offense on the field. They killed some clock. They came back from a double-digit deficit to even get to overtime. But then there was that questionable timeout called by Brandon Staley in overtime, which inevitably cost the Chargers the game, the tie, the opportunity for the postseason. The Raiders, of course, changed their whole perspective when that timeout was called. So, of course, hindsight is 2020. But we saw the field goal cost the Chargers. What would you have done differently in that game, T-Squared?
Listen, first of all, I felt like you were basically throwing fairy dust around on Sunday because everything you wanted to happen Sunday happened.
I know.
Like, I'm like, yo, I think Tasha's throwing some fairy dust around because
I was seriously praying.
No way that this is shaping up just like this. Like, this is ridiculous, right?
It was not supposed to happen.
But outside of that, I'm like, yo, Brandon Staley, what the ham sandwich are you doing?
Ham sandwich.
They are 3rd down, 4 or 5 yards from the 1st down, 38 seconds, clock ticking, tick, 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 tick. All they have to do is get one stop, which the way Josh Jacobs had been running, he had only been getting about 3 yards a clip, and the time would have ran out before they could have gotten the 1st down to even get, and they won't even in field goal range. They didn't get into field goal range until after they called a timeout, and then they had to snap the ball again to get into field goal range, and they had to run the ball again. So they had 2 possessions. Had he just let the clock expire, it would have ended in a tie ball game because he wouldn't have got the yardage that he needed to even get and kick it in Carlson's kicking range. So I'm like, what were you thinking? What was Brandon Staley thinking? I have no idea. If he would have just let the clock run down to 0 by the time they got set, snapped the ball, the game would have been over.
Right, no timeout.
Let's go. We all going to the playoffs. So I have no idea. And here's the thing. Best case scenario for them, even in calling the timeout, is to get a stop. That was best case scenario, or cause some type of fumbling, but it wasn't going to be enough to send them to overtime anyway, or to help them to win the game. So that was best case scenario. You had 38 seconds.
38.
So I'm like, I have no idea what he was thinking, and I would love to see what he has to say about it, because I'm like, yo, I don't know what you on, but you is crazy. That's what I was thinking.
So you would have just let the clock run out and took the tie as well.
Definitely. I would have took my chances.
Right. I mean, even before overtime went through, I would have taken a knee at the beginning of overtime. If you look at these teams, both of them were very exhausted, especially the defenses, because both of the defenses were on the field for 3rd down and long, 3rd and 8, 4th and 3. Like they kept getting plays extended on the opposition. So the defenses were gassed. They were exhausted. And I just kind of remember like, yo, coach, let's just gonna take this knee. This is all we need to get in the playoffs. So I probably would have ended the game right when the referee was like, we're gonna flip the coin going into overtime. I don't know. Just all that back and forth, the defenses remain on the field. I don't know. Just everybody was exhausted. Now it was clear to me that the players wanted this game to be over. Like you could just see it in their body language, you could just see it in their face. And sometimes coaches do need to take a moment to listen to their players as well. I know you're the coach, I know you call the shots, but you got to listen to your players. You just do. They're the ones actually out there on the field. And I just saw a lot of hints that said that they were just ready to just call it over. And I probably would have honored that. Then also, like, we're going into this secures both of us getting in there. So, like, look, bro, I might see you in a couple weeks for round 3. We'll duel it out again.
We'll do it again. Right.
Yeah, I'll holler at you. There's no way I would have let the Steelers get in. I understand the timeout changed the mindset. Derek Carr even confirmed that you could even see at the end of the game that some players were telling the Chargers, like, hey, man, we were going to take a knee, but your coach called a timeout. So it was like, okay, we got a chance to win this game. And that's exactly what we did. So I don't know, maybe just the division rival factor came in, like, well, this is still our rival. Let's play spoiler and keep them out. I don't know. But just on paper, there's no way I would have considered Pittsburgh even getting in. Like, all we got to do is keep this tie. You're in, we're in. Okay, let's just call a truce, and I'll holler at you in a few weeks. Maybe we'll see each other again.
But what's crazy about that is that they weren't even at midfield yet when that happened. So it's like best case scenario, you talking he has to get at least 10 yards to even get into some type of kicking range.
And got him. And y'all let him get it. With that timeout, they were able to reset and just go ahead and do. I don't know. I was really baffled. And then, I'm not really a Brandon Staley fan anyway. But for this situation, I definitely was. So on behalf of Steelers Nation, thank you. And shout outs to the Steelers brethren, because they were donating to Carlson's charities that he had been involved. I thought that was a beautiful thing. I just really thought that all that was dope. But I was floored. I just could not believe. And I really like Herbert. And I just thought, like, wow, his second year, he's about to go to the playoffs. And the coach, not the Raiders, not a fumble from his own team, but his coach actually kept him out of the playoffs. But yeah, just again, on the behalf of Brandon Staley, thank you so much for that bonehead move. I wouldn't have dared call the timeout. Like I said, it wouldn't even got there. We would have just took a knee and then we've been out. Baby, we tied. Let's go hit this ice. I'll holler at you and just secure the victory. But nonetheless, thank you just the same, Coach Brandon Staley. I don't know if Charlemagne did a donkey of the day for him, but I would. That would be my donkey of the day from Sunday, because that was just absolutely atrocious. No idea, make no sense whatsoever. Now let's go to the halftime entertainment from the Touchdown Time Boy. What you got for us today?
Man. Okay, so I gotta finish this last 5 teams this week, because I got to give them all justice. So we have 5 more teams, and then I'll have something different for next week. Okay, so here we go. So we stopped with the Seattle Seahawks, which was team 27 last week. So now we're going to go to team 28. Team 28 happens to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Basically, how they got their name was basically, I guess, was a tribute to the pirates that kind of raided the Florida coastline during the 17th century, because they considered a whole lot of pirating because of how they were on the water and stuff like that. So that's how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got their name, actually.
That makes sense.
Team 28. That was team 28. Team 29 happens to be my babies, the Carolina Panthers, even though I don't know what we got going on. And of course, our owner, Jerry Richardson, he said that the Panthers symbolize being powerful, sleek, and strong, and he named the team himself. And that came about in 1995. Also in 1995 was the originations of the the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they were named because doing a fan contest, basically. And the interesting thing about this is that the reason why they named them the Jacksonville Jaguars, because the Jacksonville Zoo actually housed the oldest jaguar in the United States. So they basically named it after their the oldest jaguar animal in the Jacksonville Zoo.
That's dope.
And then 1996, which is team 31, was the Ravens. And of course, the owner tried to get the original Colts name back, but that was a failed attempt. And they ended up going with the Ravens because, which you never would guess this, because of Edgar Allan Poe, who happens to be a native of Baltimore, and he had a famous poem called The Raven. And because he was a native, that's how they came up with their name. And they named, because his famous poem was called The Raven, so they came up with their name to be the Ravens. And then whoever knew that, right?
I did not know he was
and then the last team, of course, was the Houston Texans. And believe it or not, they formed in 2002, and the Houston Texans is the only team that has had the same logo since their origination.
Since 2002, okay.
Everybody else has changed. Everybody else has changed their logo in some way, form, or fashion, with the exception of the Houston Texans. And they were Team 32. But of course, the thing that I had to like the most is, who would have thought that the Ravens were named after Edgar Allan Poe?
I get the poem reference and stuff, because he does have a poem called The Raven, but I did not know that he was from Baltimore.
Yes.
That's interesting. Good stuff. Wow. I am so with the going back to the Jacksonville, that's right. I think it's cool too. Like, I just actually thought that they went with Jacksonville Jaguars because, like, just alliteration, J&J or whatever. No idea that it had something to do with, like, the backstory with the zoo and stuff like that. So that's dope. That's good stuff. Beautiful. Dope as always. Can't wait for because you've gone through all the teams, so I can't wait to see what your topic will be next week. I was kind of anticipating that because you knew because you were breaking them down weekly, and of course 1 week you talked about John Madden, the week that he died, but I kind of was anticipating that, so now I'm looking forward to like what's next from you with the halftime shows.
My husband is already giving me something, so I'm gonna work on that next week, because he was like, I think you should talk about that on your show. And so I think it's something we've gone over before, but I will go over it again because he was adamant that nobody really understood it. So
plus also with it being the playoffs, like, it's probably a good time to bring it back around too. We'll probably be revisited with that. So good stuff as always. So resuming with the third quarter now, with the playoffs starting. Also, Black Monday just so happens to fall in the same week. And we've seen the dismissal so far of Matt Nagy and front office member Ryan Pace from the Bears, Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman from the Vikings. The Broncos actually fired their coach Sunday night before Black Monday even started. Wow. Joe Judge from the Giants, which I think we can both agree that most of those were pretty understandable moves. But the surprising firing of Brian Flores from the Miami Dolphins, that is such a head scratcher. So, Touchdown Tomboy, why do you think Flores was fired, and what's next for the Miami Dolphins?
Okay, so outside of him, Brian Flores, and I'll get to him in a minute, I think it's actually also surprising that they actually fired David Culley, because he was doing a really, really good job with the Texans. And so I haven't quite figured out why he was fired. And with that team, and he got 4 wins, that's amazing to me. And so that's a side note for a different day. And they're gonna reap what they sow on that, because I feel like they used him just to not look like they were racist, but that's a different story for a different day.
We know Bob McNary is, but yeah.
And because when I think about what David Culley was doing with the Texans, I was very, very surprised. And I don't think that anybody else would have gotten 4 wins out of that team. But anywho, I digress. We're talking about Brian Flores now. Now, here's the thing. When we look at the Miami Dolphins, in the history of the Miami Dolphins, we have never seen really a coach in recent years last past 3 years. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing and why they only keep a coach for 3 years. But what's most puzzling about this particular fire is because Brian Flores had 2 winning seasons. So you don't fire a coach if they have winning seasons. You fire a coach if they're not winning. And he's proved that he can win because he's done it back to back. So after their first year, the next year, they won 10 games. This year, they won 9 games and won the last 7 straight. You don't fire that kind of coach. But I did a little digging, a little research. Research comes to say that the GM and Brian Flores were not getting along so good.
Oh,
they had a difference in opinion with players that were drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So the GM apparently was really, really high on Tua,
Mm-hmm.
and Brian Flores was not. He actually wanted Justin Herbert, which in hindsight, that would have been the better deal because Tua Tagovailoa has been injury prone since he's been there. And he has not excelled to the level that they wanted him to. And so I do believe that Brian Flores was right. So, I mean, when you look at it, and then they're saying now that the other issue is that his relationships with the players were not as good. But here's the thing. When you look at winning organizations, and you look at winning teams, i.e. the New England Patriots, they will tell you going to work is never fun. We're not here to have fun. We're here to win.
Right.
So if you want a winning organization, I could care less if the coach is not buddy. Matter of fact, I prefer it more. I would prefer that you didn't coddle them, and that there was a level of respect that they had because they knew you knew what you were doing.
Right.
So I don't know what the Miami Dolphins are going to do. I don't know. I think they're looking for a cheerleader coach. Well, if that's what they're looking for, come and get my coach, okay? Because he is the biggest coddler of them all.
Okay,
I'll take Brian Flores because I just want to win. Come and get Matt Rule. He likes to coddle. If that's what you want, come get him. Because I just want to win. And most Miami Dolphin fans want to win. But typically, you can't have the same people in the same space. If you coddling them, you're usually not as strict, or you're not making the waves that you need to make, because guess what? It's more about saving feelings than about getting the job done.
Right.
And where I'm at with the Miami Dolphins, that is a decision they're going to regret because they had their guy. But I think that the Chicago Bears, if they're smart with that young quarterback in Justin Fields, they'll hire Mr. Flores. As for the Miami Dolphins, I don't know. Come get Matt Rule.
You going out. I feel you on that, because this one really messed me up. I mean, I had no true idea as to why the Dolphins fired Flores other than stupidity. I mean, that was just the only and first thing I could think of. This one blew my mind just as much as there was one year where the Chargers went like 14-2 or 15-1, and they fired Marty Schottenheimer. So that one was kind of up there with me. They fired him the year that he had that record, but then I found out like, oh, okay, they had issues with him because he didn't win playoff games. Well, Flores hadn't quite got to the playoffs yet, so I'm like, okay, that can't be why. But they were well on their way. I mean, up until last week, they were in the playoff hunt until some of the other scenarios kind of busted it. But the last 2 weeks, you're still in the playoff hunt, where there were teams that had been knocked out weeks and weeks ago, November, early December, and up until the one last week before the regular season, Miami Dolphins still had a chance to make the playoffs. Just some of the scenarios didn't work in their favor. So you go fire the guy who, like you said, back-to-back winning seasons. He came from Bill Belichick. In addition to coming from Bill Belichick, he actually beat Bill Belichick. His record with Belichick was 4-2. We're talking about a Hall of Fame coach, and your record is 4-2. That is well above 500. I will take that twice on Sunday. But you go and fire him. So yeah, this is very just puzzling and baffling to me. I felt like, and I know part of the issue was, yes, Flores was very aggressive in trying to get Deshaun Watson, but from a business aspect, you got to understand it. First of all, Miami, you drafted Tua when he was damaged goods. He got hurt in college. So it wasn't like you had him.
And you got to think about it. Since then, he's had a rib injury. He's missed 4 or 5 games. So the writing is on the wall with him.
From a business perspective, you kind of understood, like, this is an injury-prone guy. He's very fragile. So I understood why Flores was trying to go get Watson. Also, just last year, Flores seemed to be trying to keep Fitzpatrick out there, but the management was like, no, we got to evaluate Tua. We got to go where Tua is. And I was upset about that too, because Fitzpatrick was getting you wins. Like you said, at the end of the day, we're not looking at fun. We're not looking at necessarily, I mean, you want some camaraderie, but winning cures everything. Even to the point like Big Ben. Big Ben had so much success with Todd Haley. They hate each other. I ain't care. You were winning with him. What happened? Oh, outside of the game and off the 20s, I don't care nothing about. So I appreciate Brian Flores for actually trying to go after Watson as a result of having trust issues with Tua. That you have to do that. That was Tua. That was brought upon Tua. He was hurt. He wasn't out there. He also wasn't winning. When he was out there, he got some wins this year, but at the time, he was not winning. So I understood and completely was cool with what Flores was doing. But I guess from a management perspective, they're looking at it like, okay, Tua's supposed to be our franchise quarterback. And it's like him and Flores and Tua disagreed. They had battles. They had arguments. So I guess management was like, either our franchise quarterback or a coach that we feel is expendable, which he's not. And they kind of had to make Flores a scapegoat. And so he's gone. I don't know what Miami's going to do for the future. I guess just the rumblings of Jim Harbaugh might return to the NFL, that they think they're entering the sweepstakes for Harbaugh. But that's not even official. So that was, if you think that, oh, we getting Harbaugh, that ain't confirmed. We don't know if he even coming back. And then I know your weather nice, but who's to say that Harbaugh is guaranteed to even come to you just because your spot's available? He might not like your personnel. He might not like how you did Flores because he got fired with a winning record. So I don't know. I wouldn't really trust it. And now I know you said Flores maybe with the Bears. I'm looking at Flores maybe for the Giants because he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I saw you say that.
Yeah, so and then also we don't know what's going on with Daniel Jones, and I think that this will give, because Chicago has their quarterback in place with Fields. We don't know what's going to happen with Jones, so I think that this might allow Watson to maybe come back and circulate. Maybe he can carry Watson to New York. I don't know, but I just feel like New York, he'll probably have a little bit more opportunity, and plus New York also doesn't have like a GM as well. Neither does Chicago. But I don't know. I think maybe him going back home might be a good refresher for him. I would like him to go back there, but whatever happens with Miami now going forward, I hope you implode. I don't want to necessarily say I want a hurricane to hit Miami, but I want a hurricane to kind of hit that organization and y'all just kind of implode. I hope that you struggle. I already like how you did Fitzpatrick last year. Now I really don't like how you did Flores. So y'all hope there's a lot of pain and suffering coming for you, Miami, going forward. All right, so
will be, and look, it will be. Just watch, just wait and see. It will be, because think about it. Now you got this going around the league, and people are gonna be like, "Who wants to go there?" They don't keep a coach past 3 years.
Right, we can't trust. I got a winning record, and you'll still fire me.
Yeah, and you'll still get fired. So I don't know what you're looking for, and that is gonna speak a lot of volumes around this NFL. And they're gonna end up with a coach so subpar because they don't keep their people. Watch.
Right. And I think also a lot of the players, there's a lot more players that, like, unlike the Giants, where there probably was some more people that kind of wanted Judge gone or were like on the fence or didn't care or were indifferent. I feel like there were a lot more players. Even some of them have been expressing how they felt on social media. So I think there's a lot of them disgruntled with this decision too. And I don't think that this is going to spill over well into the locker room or on the field either as a result. So we'll definitely see how it goes. So concluding with the fourth quarter, the Jags have secured the number 1 pick for the second season in the row. What moves should they make, T-Squared?
Well, the Jaguars gave the Colts a whole lot of issues. So it looks like their defensive line is working well. However, the biggest issue that I see with the Jacksonville Jaguars is they gotta be able to check, they gotta be able to protect Sunshine. They gotta protect Trevor. They can't protect them right now. They really can't, especially on the left side of the ball. So if I am the Jacksonville Jaguars, this draft has tons of offensive pieces. And so if you need an offensive lineman, that's where you go. And I would suggest, because I really want this kid, but since they the number 1 pick, then, I mean, if I'm them, I'd go get Evan Neal, offensive tackle from the Alabama Crimson Tide. If I don't get him, I'm definitely going to get the boy from NC State, Akeem Anuowu, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to get him. But what I'm doing is I'm going to get some protection for my $1 million asset that's behind the line, because he's already had one shoulder surgery, and it wasn't on the shoulder, his throwing shoulder, but you don't want to ever get to the throwing shoulder. So if you can protect them a little better, you might can get more out of them. So if I'm them, I definitely spend my first draft pick on getting an offensive lineman, because they always pay huge dividends, and this is the draft to do it.
Right. It is, because there's definitely, I mean, you already have your quarterback too, but usually there's a decent quarterback class. This is a very underwhelming quarterback class. So thankfully you guys went and got your quarterback last year, because this ain't the year for it. I do just want to point out what a fall from grace the Jacksonville Jaguars have had. I mean, what was this, 4 years ago that they were in the AFC Championship game? And here you are now, 2 back-to-back number 1 picks. I just I don't know. That's too quick of a turnaround to have that type of fall from grace. You usually want to have an uptick and build and not rebuild. But nonetheless, here we are, back-to-back number 1 draft picks for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If y'all don't if you don't make some shifts as far as moving down, I was looking at a stat, because what I did not know was that I thought that Jacksonville was maybe one of the few that had back-to-back draft picks like this, and actually they're not. Cleveland had it twice, and in recent years, 99 and 2000, like cash money coming through for the 99 and 2000, and then so was Cleveland with 2 back-to-back number 1 picks. And also they just did it in 2017 and 2018. So I was like, wow, Cleveland, I didn't know that there was a lot of other teams that had back-to-back number 1 draft picks, but I just was amazed, because I thought, I wonder how many times in history has that happened, but it's not as rare as I thought it was. So interestingly enough, though, with that, the Cleveland Browns, since they were the ones that had most recently and most recently in this millennium, they actually had the success by going to get Myles Garrett, and then they turned around and got Baker Mayfield. Now, I know there's a lot of question marks and eyebrow raising in Cleveland right now, but let's not forget, a very short year ago, Cleveland did make it to the playoffs with that tandem, and also they beat a Pittsburgh team 2 weeks in a row. And one of them just so happened to be, it might have been both games, but it was definitely the postseason. The playoffs game was definitely in Pittsburgh. And I was just thinking okay, so they went and got a franchise defensive end who, of course, has made moves. He's been conversations for Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. And again, I just want to point out, even though Baker Mayfield, there's a lot of question marks around him, he did very well last year while Odell was injured. So I don't, maybe Odell being back in the locker room this year might have tarnished some things. He couldn't get it back on track by the time Odell was traded. But Baker Mayfield did have some success last year. No Odell. And again, it got to the postseason. So I was thinking that maybe Jacksonville should kind of take that as a blueprint. You already got your quarterback, and yes, they definitely need offensive linemen. So if they don't get Alabama's Evan Neal, maybe they should go get the best player available. Maybe they should go get some aggression on the defensive ends. So you could either look at Oregon, looking at on the edge, their defensive player, Kayvon. Yeah. So maybe him to kind of, again, just duplicate some of the success Cleveland has had, or also go look at Michigan and go get Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
So, if you don't go O-line, which you definitely should. Yeah. So just maybe look at best player available. So again, if you don't trade down and just kind of stack Lego block, stack some extra picks, maybe take that approach. Offensive lineman, as Touchdown Tomboy said, or back your edge and kind of do like Cleveland, kind of duplicate that and the success that they had as well. All right. So speaking of picks, let's head into overtime with our picks. Now we get 6 games this weekend, with 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and surprise, we get a Monday night playoff game. I'm really excited about that. So we got a new season starting, but the dynamic is completely different. This is a one and done, win or go home. If you don't win, you don't advance. Definitely lots of factors involved with these games. You definitely don't get a next week if you don't win on this. All right, so here we go. The first game on Saturday, the Raiders at Bengals. The Bengals, of course, were going on the road, week 11, 32-13, but they have not won a playoff game in 31 years. Now, Touchdown Tomboy, does the streak end for the Bengals this weekend for their playoff drought?
I don't know. I feel like this is my toss-up game. I feel like this is the game that's a toss-up to me. I could see this game going either way.
Right.
So I really can't really pick a winner for this game because I can see this going in either direction. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders win. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals win. But I'm gonna give the Bengals the advantage because they playing at home, right?
Yeah, it is at home for Cincinnati.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give them the advantage. But other than that, I really don't see an advantage. The last time the Raiders played them, it was like 13-20, something like that. It was
32-13. 32-13.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that was when all the drama was going on for them with the Raiders, with the whole Henry Ruggs and all of that stuff. So I'm sure they'll play very, very differently this time. But so I see this game as being that game that I think is just a toss-up. It could go either way.
Yeah, this one was tough for me too. Like, I mean, my mind was already all over the place with this game analytically, but my heart is like also all over the place.
I know we love Derek Carr, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. With Derek Carr, it's just really, really hard for me to pick against him. And plus, also just I'm very proud of my fellow Taurus, the head coach for the Bengals, Zach Taylor, who could easily be coach of the year. I'm just really proud of what he's done with Cincinnati. But this is still my divisional rival. And see, I'm torn there too, because I'm like, do I want my division, like I want my division to do well in the postseason, but also like because you're my division rival, now if that I want you out. I want you one and done. Just because the bitterness associated with it. But I really don't hate Cincinnati like I hate Baltimore, or like then not as much as I dislike Cleveland. Like I guess because Cincinnati hasn't had like a whole lot of success like that. Now there was that one playoff game we had against him. It was a controversial ending. I think it was Burfict and a call that got us a field goal or something like that during the Marvin Lewis era. That's probably about the only issues we've had with Cincinnati as far as postseason. And of course, Keith Rivers and Hines Ward, that issue many years ago as well. But it's not really been a bitter rival between us and Cincinnati. So I don't really have any grudges towards them. So I don't know. Cincinnati already won on the road. When they beat the Raiders in Las Vegas. So I don't know, so that's not to say Las Vegas can't win on the road either. It's just, it is. This is really, really tough on this one. I think the Bengals do have something special here with Chase and Burrow reuniting from LSU. They already got a national championship a couple years ago, trying to get a Super Bowl this year. I don't know. This is really, I'm about like you. This is just too tough. I think the Bengals might win. Wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders win. Wouldn't be mad at the results of either of the games on this one either. Next up, also on Saturday, the Patriots at the Bills is another rematch. And this was in prime time. Of course, these two have faced off already twice this season because they're in the same division. And home field didn't even matter on this game either. I mean, Buffalo won at New England and New England won at Buffalo. So here we are. It's at the Bills this time. So what is the fate at home for the Bills this time, T-Squared?
So here's the thing. I have a hard time, as much as I love Sean Dermott and I love Josh Allen and what they're doing, I have a hard time believing that Bill is going to lose again. So I think that Bill will do that Bill-esque type things that he did when they went up there the first time and they set their running game in motion. And if they cannot stop the run, because here's the issue. And I think it's so funny that I say this, because even though Mac Jones is a rookie, Mac Jones is their liability. And Mac Jones, when he played Miami last week, looked horrible. And so here we are, when you got a team that's playing really, really good defensively, he's the liability. And so I think what Bill will do is figure out how to take the ball out of his hand like he did the first time they were up there. And I think they win that way. They control the time of possession and they just ground and pound because they are running up there, and they can do that on Buffalo because I don't see Buffalo slowing that two-back running system down. And I think Bill wins again.
I'm not a fan of Bill Belichick, but just what he's done just over the years, of course, all the Super Bowls and just drafting well and just the adjustments they've made when there's been injuries, when there's been suspensions. I mean, the guy's an absolute guru. But I can never get the cheating out of my mind. That's part of the reason why I just don't want him to have success. I cannot get over the cheating. I mean, you have compromised the integrity of my favorite sport multiple times with very, very minimal penalties. So I don't know. I just have a hard time rooting for Bill Belichick. and I love McDermott. I love Diggs. And, I heard that Cam might actually be going to Buffalo next year.
I heard that too.
Yeah. So, like, I'm all for that too. And of course, both teams, Gerard Mayo, and I can't think of Buffalo's offensive coordinator right now, but people are interested in him for some of these coaching vacancies. So I don't know if
Dorsey, ain't he their
thank
offensive
you.
coordinator?
Yeah, that's who it
Ken
is.
Dorsey worked with Cam his Super Bowl season, so he's very familiar with them.
But see, the thing is, they're catching interest for some of these head coaching jobs. So I don't know if that will be any type of distractions. Like, do they want their season to hurry up again so they can go get a head coach? I don't know. All of that kind of can play factors as well. I want the Bills to win. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but because they're so one-dimensional, and a lot of times you see Josh Allen out there running for his life, I don't know. I think the Patriots can win and possibly will, but hopefully the Bills have learned their lesson from the last time that they lost. It's hard to beat. Like, are the Bills really gonna get swept at home by them? Like, are we really gonna be saying that? Yes, it's very possible. The Patriots could very well win, but I want the Bills to win. I'm very indifferent on that one. Now, let's see, those were the two games for those were the two Saturday games. All right, so on Sunday, we have 3 games slated on Sunday. So we got the after lunch game on Sunday. The first one is another rematch here. Surprise, surprise. It's the Eagles at the Super Bowl champs at the Bucks. Now, the Eagles lost a close one to Tampa in week 6, final score of 28-22. Will the Eagles get their revenge during this trip to Tampa, T-Squared?
I picked the Eagles this week. I definitely picked it. Now, the Bucks don't win at home. They don't typically lose at home. But the Bucks are not the same. These are some Howard Bucks right now, okay? Now, had we had a better coach, period, we would have done differently against the Bucks, in week 8, 17, 18. And so I don't see that running game that the Eagles have. And Jalen Hurts right now, I like to say, under the tutelage of the great Peyton Manning, has been a different guy, okay? So, I'm looking at that guy being mentored by Peyton Manning, and then I'm looking at this run game that they have, and I don't know if the Bucks get past them. I don't think that the Bucks will get past them because the Bucks got a slew of injuries from Shaq Barrett to Devin White to Godwin to Mike Evans got hurt last week. I don't even know what's going on with that. I just think that this is not their season, and I did pick the Eagles to win.
No, as mentioned earlier in this episode about Tampa, again, very vulnerable, like you also reiterated. Again, just I like the leadership, the familiarity, the Barnett, the Fletcher Cox factor, the Rodney McLeod factor, already knowing how to beat Gronk and Brady in playoff scenarios. I mean, they won a Super Bowl against them. So they know how to do it. They're able to do it. But the thing is, the Eagles got demolished last week. And I know it was a whole different personnel. I mean, we'll get Hurts back as opposed to Minshew. And I know they had a lot on the COVID list. But then I saw also what Brady has done just in the absence of so much of his offensive arsenal. And I know he's 44, but it's like he is so crisp. I'm like, seriously, he is mentally, he's like a Benjamin Button out there on the field. Like, his mind is getting younger, and even though his age is older. If this was Doug Peterson as the coach for the Eagles, I probably would give it a little bit more of an edge, but I don't really trust the Eagles coach against Bruce Arians on this, although I feel like Bruce Arians is ready for the season to be over with everything he's gone through with AB. I'm sure he's tired of talking to the press. I think he probably just over it at this point. But I don't know. It's something about Tom Brady still being under center for the Bucs. It's regardless of who his running back is, regardless of who his receiver is. I don't know. I'll give the Bucs an edge because of that, but I wouldn't be mad if the Eagles won, nor would I be surprised, and I kind of hope that they do win as well. All right, so the evening game on Sunday, midday, the 49ers at the Cowboys. A very history rivalry here. Lots of 80s, 90s nostalgia here. Other than my boys, this is probably my favorite playoff game of the week. This is the one I'm anticipating and looking forward to the most. Touchdown time, boy. Who you like in this one?
The Niners. We've already talked about this. I'm picking the Niners all day. Listen. Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn, I love those guys, okay? Mike McCarthy ain't too much high on my list, but Kellen Moore, I kind of like what the young lad is doing. And Dan Quinn, I like what he's doing. But here's the thing. Last week, when I saw the Cowboys play against the Eagles' second string, their offensive line was struggling. The defensive lines were struggling against the second string. The reason why the Cowboys won the game the way that they did, it was because the Eagles' second string secondary was so terribly that they were able, CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper were able to get off. I don't see that with Darius Slayton and the boys back there this week. I don't see it. So I am going to go. I mean, with not with Darius Slayton, but I don't see this with the Niners back there. I don't see them having the same field day. So I am going to go with the Niners. And I think that the Niners will control the time of clock with their run game, because the way they run, think about it. They beat the Rams, and the Rams got one of the best defenses there is.
They do.
I don't see Trayvon Diggs slowing that down. Okay. Now he might got a lot of interceptions, but they have more passing yardage on him than any other receiver in the league right now.
That's very true.
So I see Brandon Ayuk and them boys having a real good time out there.
See, like I was saying earlier, like Jimmy G is due a breakout game. He really is. And it's all about timing here. Like Dallas is coming in hot, but so are the 49ers, because they won. Both teams won last week. And Dallas's record might be at a 500, right at 500, or a game below or a game above at home. So you really can't even say that they necessarily have home field on this. Plus 49ers fans, they've been around a long time. The 49er faithful is what they call them. They travel a lot and they travel well. And there's even been stuff out about do not sell tickets to the 49ers because they know they're coming. So I don't know. It might be a lot of 49ers fans in there to kind of make some noise as well and help their team too. The only thing the main thing though that concerns me is it's just that I want to trust Jimmy G. I want to believe in Jimmy G. And Jimmy G is due a game. This really might be the game. He's the only thing that scares me about the 49ers. It's not Samuel. It's nobody else. But I really feel like a lot of the success that San Fran has had has been Jimmy G's been riding the coattails. Like he's just been getting lucky breaks because of how successful the other components of the 49ers has been. Jimmy G has to touch the ball on offense because he's a quarterback. He has to. And I just don't know if he's going to make all the right decisions. He's due. I hope he does. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers win, but because I just have such severe trust issues, it's probably the only reason why I would give Dallas the edge on this. It has nothing to do with them being at home. It has nothing to do with them. Zeke just got the 1,000 yards last week. He just got to the 1,000 yards. And I know Dak broke Romo's record and stuff, but still, I just wish, I mean, if Shanahan is smart, he'll run like a hybrid quarterback system and confuse the crap out of Dallas. Incorporate Trey Lance and implement him. If he does that, then I feel a lot more comfortable. But just trusting Jimmy G to like really just be the signal caller on this without Trey Lance mixed in, I don't know.
But see, here's the thing. I see what you're saying, but I also feel that the reverse is true. So I'm looking at what Dak has been doing. When Dak plays teams above 500, he's as bad as Jimmy G is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. Well, that one's a toss-up too. God, it really is.
I'm gonna go with Kyle Shanahan because Kyle Shanahan, it's about offensive scheming. And when I thought that, you know what I'm saying, like all of the top tier teams, the 49ers have shown that they can keep up with them. I haven't seen that from Dallas. If the team is over 500, Dallas don't win.
That's true.
The 49ers showed that they can win against top tier teams. They beat the Rams. And they barely lost to the Titans, who's the number one team.
They beat the Colts too. The Colts
They
are
beat
above
the
500.
Colts. See what I'm saying? They can
Yeah.
keep up with the good teams. It's all about what Shanahan does. I'm just saying. And I don't see Dallas having that kind of secondary that they can really slow that run. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Michael Parsons.
Yeah.
I love Lawrence. You know what I'm saying? I love Gregory. But I just think that offensive line has gotten back healthy because they done got Ayuk back, and the way they scheme them tight ends. And then here's the other thing. Who's stopping George Kittle in that zone? Because I don't see nobody taking him out.
I mean, he does create mismatches. I wouldn't be mad if Dallas lost. I wouldn't. It's just, girl, it's just something about Jimmy G. But he do. This is the game. This is the game he's due for. This is the one to get off. It really is. So
here's the thing. When I break it down, I think it'll be mostly run game. And I think that I don't see Dallas playing man-to-man. I see them playing zone coverage, and nobody eats up a zone better than George Kittle. I see George Kittle getting off this game.
that would be fine by me. I would not have a problem with it whatsoever. All right. And so in prime time, we got another rematch. The Steelers return to the Chiefs once again after a lopsided double-digit loss last month. Of course, the Chiefs are pursuing their 4th straight championship run this time around. So T-Square, what are your thoughts on this game? Perhaps the final playoff run for Big Ben.
Here's the thing. They're going to Kansas City, which is Arrowhead. And Arrowhead is not as scary as it used to be because they've lost quite a bit in Arrowhead this year. But when I'm looking at the Steelers, and I love Mike Tomlin. I do. You know I love Mike Tomlin. Mm-hmm. But I just think that the Kansas City Chiefs, they were having issues up front with their offensive line. I think they figured out how to fix it. I just don't see, as bad as Kansas City's defense is, I don't see your offense being able to keep up with them numbers for numbers. And that's why I'm going to pick Kansas City. Because Kansas City, they score fast. And I just don't see y'all keeping up with that scoring. And that's why I got to pick the Chiefs.
Well, I mean, of course, my heart wants to go with my boys. I mean, it's been a very inspiring week for us, the way that we got in the playoffs, and then to hear the news about Juju. I mean, we're playing with house money here. We ain't even supposed to, like Deborah Cox said, nobody's supposed to be here. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not supposed to be here, honestly. I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. And plus, the Chiefs, they are such a speedy team. That's the thing. That's how they get their points so fast, because they are fast. And speed kills. If you don't got fast guys, no matter what type of scheme or personnel that you have, if you're not fast, you're not catching Kansas City. You're not. But I hope strategically my boys will go look at those the tapes where Kansas City had like that 5-game losing streak. That was a very humbling experience for them. I think it made them hungry, and they made the necessary adjustments, and congratulations to them. So I hope that maybe my boys kind of look at that and pick them apart with that. I mean, I know that I feel like we definitely learned a lot from that December blowout. I think the game is going to be a lot closer than people think. Definitely going to be a lot closer than it was last time. But again, like I was saying earlier, we really have great history in the postseason in Kansas City. We do well when we're the low seeds, flying under the radar. Both of the Super Bowls that we've had in recent history, 6 seed on the road, 3 playoff games. My heart wants to pick us, and plus it's Ben's last year. But I just, because of who we're playing, Kansas City, and this fast team, and this Andy Reid team, this Patrick Mahomes-led team, and Travis Kelce, he is a nightmare as far as he creates mismatches. It don't matter who it is. So for those reasons, I would go with Kansas City, but I would not be surprised or upset if we win. But also, it's going to be a lot closer than people think from that December game. All right, so the Monday night conclusion for the wild card playoffs weekend, another rematch, surprise. This one, another divisional rematch where 2 teams must break the tie. Now, Arizona and LA for a second time this season. Arizona, of course, won in LA early in the season at a time, though, when LA did not have Von Miller. They also did not have Odell, and Arizona looked like a more potent, undefeated team at the time, too. Now, of course, LA returned that favor last month and won in the desert. Both teams lost last week, as the Rams, however, still won the division. So, touchdown Tomboy, who do you think will prevail on Monday night?
So here's the thing. I didn't think it was going to matter, but it did. My question is where is D-Hop going to be back?
I don't know, because AJ Green has been a former shell of himself.
Yeah, that's the difference maker is D-Hop. And even if D-Hop isn't 100% healthy, D-Hop is such a distraction that it causes issues.
Yeah.
And so the question for me becomes, where is D-Hop? If D-Hop plays, I'd give the advantage to the Cardinals. If D-Hop does not play, I'll have to go with the Rams.
To me, it don't matter, because Arizona is still limping in this with or without D-Hop, because their offensive, if D-Hop ain't playing offensive lineman, because excuse me, that's the thing. Like, Murray's been struggling to stay on his feet. I mean, he's getting sacked, the pressure, nobody's getting open. Now, granted, D-Hop can help with that element, but if that offensive line don't protect for him, and plus he's still a young, small quarterback, like, y'all have to protect him. Yeah, and it's just, I don't foresee LA losing twice to Arizona in LA. I just cannot put that together in a sentence. Plus, they just got a little bit more potent right now.
Well, I thought the same thing with the 49ers. They weren't going to lose to the 49ers again, which is why I picked the Rams to win last week. But that I was obviously wrong.
But at the same time, the 49ers had to win to get in the playoffs. Excuse me. So they were a little bit more desperate. The Rams were already in there. They just didn't know if they were going to win the division. Of course, Arizona losing helped them. So 49ers just like that was a must-win game for them.
But see, this is lose or go home. So
I mean, and no. I mean, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, that's part of the reason why they were so active last week, because like they had to even get a shot to get in. Because mind you, don't forget the Saints won too. So had San Fran lost, because the Saints won, the Saints would have been in. So it was kind of like it was a must-win situation for them. I don't know, like, I trust Sean McVay, who has been to a Super Bowl before, way more than I trust Cliff Kingsbury, because Kingsbury's got a history of really, really falling off late in the season, where McVay has done more prevalent. And I don't know, I'm rooting for Matt Stafford. He's deserved some long overdue success in the postseason. I mean, I hope he gets it. So I'm gonna take the Rams at home on this one. But you like Arizona if D Hopkins is playing? I don't care. I don't care if D Hopkins is there. I like LA. I don't know. I like LA. But we definitely gonna see. We had some mixed results.
So did you? Side note: did you see the Twitter about with Jalen Ramsey? With the Twitter about how they saying that they thought the AB was coming to the Rams?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised they went back and got Eric Weddle again to get some depth in the secondary. So, who knows? AB so erratic. His name was Kanye.
Can you imagine him and OBJ together? That would be a disaster.
That's combustible. That's gonna be combustible. And my prayers go out to Sean McVay in advance, because I don't know, especially them tight khakis that he be wearing too. He gonna bust the seam having to deal with them.
Yes, because they are three dramas, really, because Jalen Ramsey is a drama.
Jalen Ramsey too. Lord, yes. Yeah, y'all might want to put that.
Good luck with it. Good luck with it.
Right, good luck with that. Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to the playoff series. Touchdown, Tomboy. You got anything you got to add?
I have not, girl. You done made me laugh for today.
You too.
Your little khaki pants are the same.
Girl, I'm telling you, them tight khakis, girl. You don't have me rolling when you talking about Matt Rule and about him being a cheerleading coach and being a fun, just about fun, and not you was going.
Miami can have him if that's what they looking for. If they looking for a coddling coach, we got one. They can have him. We'll take Brian Flores.
You meant that right now.
It's coddling Sam, coddling terrible Sam. Come get him. Y'all can have him. If you looking for somebody to be, listen, he'll be Tua's friend. If that's what you looking for, come get him.
Girl, that's too funny. He was going off, no doubt. So we'll definitely see how it goes with the playoffs. Looking forward to it. Gridiron Goddess, Touchdown Tomboy. Thanks so much for tuning in to WTF 2, Women Talk Football 2, and we are out.